This is exciting. CNN, 5 a.m. And guess what? Merchant, Florida. Florida. In the sights. What a surprise. Conservative say I need to stop my boss. No, we're staying DeSantis is a Republican. I think they realize that.
So I think the first question is for masks. I mean, are masks totally necessary to send kids back to school in a healthy way? 100% necessary. And I can't even believe that we're here having this debate. I mean, at this point, we have studies from country after country that have shown us that we can do this safely if we space our kids out.
People should innovate instead of make kids suffer.
And I truly can't believe you would think that the goal would be.
It should be a last resort. This lady's a fool.
School without the back and forth that we've seen last school year, and yet here we are debating a basic measure that is really a no-brainer at this point.
There's two ways to do it. One is the president makes everybody in the entire country do it, or you leave it up to the governors and mayors and the executive branch. And the president's not doing it. He probably doesn't have the power to do it. So these people are just whining about the governors and mayors, governors in particular. All right, whine about a mayor. Buttigieg cared about a lot more people before he went to Washington. He's a different person. Nah, it seems like he's more partisan. These people are smug and stupid. A bunch of dumb assholes. Fuck you guys. Fuck you, Christine Roman. You weird fucking bitch. I love her, but she is a bitch sometimes. People that don't want to be vaccinated, I think, are the ones that are not vaccinated right now. People that are exercising their freedom. People that don't gotta give you a reason. People that don't watch your show. Look at these people trying to diagnose people that don't listen to them. I think they want them to shut up. They're trying deeply to understand these deplorable people who just don't want a vaccine and they can't figure out why. And they'll pay them to get it. They'll knock on their door with a shot. They'll beg every day. They'll pay people to beg. One thing that I just realized was that businesses, this is really concerning, and the things that are happening now are probably, could be a precursor to some much worse things happening when it comes to requiring vaccines. Right now, employers, some of them, are doing it of their employees, which is perfectly within their rights, I think. And the next step is to require people to get vaccines to do business with them. And right now, it's just an anecdotal thing. Nobody's really doing that. I think they interviewed like one restaurateur in New York. But if enough people get vaccinated, they may start doing that. You know what I'm saying? Say if 90% of the population's vaccinated, or some extraordinary number, and then we should be over it or whatever. And then it keeps spreading and getting worse and worse. They might just keep pointing the finger at that real small minority, whatever it is. And I don't think we ever know the numbers for sure, and they keep changing. I don't trust any of the numbers I see on TV. Remember CNN said all the polls said that Hillary Clinton was going to win on Brianna Keeler's show. Trump's lawyer went to jail, and he said he doesn't trust any of them. And then he was right. Michael Cohen turned out they were all wrong. It's weird. These people are cultists. They're fundamentalists. And they don't realize it. Or at least some of them don't. It's creepy. Anyways. So that's why I skip around. I go to MSNBC, CNN, and Fox. But at this hour, there's only MSNBC live. Last hour, there was only CNN.
Crackdown on forcing down a flight to detain opposition journalists in May. Also targeted are those who profit from the Belarusian government. Still ahead, the alleged victim of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein files a new lawsuit against Britain's Prince Andrew. Plus, in the escalating fight over school mask mandates, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis now threatening to withhold aid for some education officials. Those stories in a check-up window. And we'll come right back.
That's interesting. I think that's within his ability to do. But sometimes these things are not really legal, and they do them, and then they go into the courts, and the courts rule on it, and then it's a precedent. So some of these, like, I think the businesses can require COVID shots just of their employees because nothing's stopping them, you know. But then I don't know. I think maybe they could require a COVID vaccination, but I don't think they have the right to insist on it being injected into your flesh with a needle into your veins. That seems like a bridge too far. You know what I mean? They could develop a vaccine that is inhaled orally or lots of different ways. It doesn't have to be jammed into your veins with a needle. I said the other day, it's kind of a shame that we're using this ancient method of masks that we're relying on. You know, this is the 21st century, and people used masks. Remember, I don't know if you've seen them, but they used to have these gigantic old like nose masks back when there's like stenches in England and diseases and things like hundreds of years ago. So sure, they help, and they're obviously they've gotten people through a lot of crap, and they still do. In some countries, people wear them more often and routinely, and they've been doing it for a long time. Only a complete and total idiot would say that a mask does absolutely no good. But it depends on the mask of it, too, and wearing a dirty mask probably isn't such a good idea. And every mask could be see-through, too, if we want. They could make government-issued, N95 masks and just have, like, with a ventilator or something, and just dish them out if they really, really wanted everybody to wear a mask and be safe. They can give everybody, it can be washable. It's funny when there's lots of different ways to approach a problem and you see people doing like the dumbest thing or the cheapest thing or the most expensive thing. You're just like, why didn't anybody tell these people other options? And why didn't they have any better ideas? CNN and MSNBC are I think, are both full of liberal Democrats, but I think CNN reaches more African American people because that's what they went for when Obama was president. I think they marketed to African Americans specifically and drew a whole bunch of more viewers in at that point. I was studying journalism every day at Long Beach City College in 2012, 2013, and 2014, and I learned a lot.
Just a few hours, the historic $1.2 trillion
watched CNN during lunch. They played it.
Late last night, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announced the measure had cleared its last hurdle on the way to a vote later this morning.
This is a very good day. We've come to an agreement. After all, the long, hard negotiating, the stops and starts, we're here. It's a good thing, a very good thing for America.
CNN's Sunland Zafari is live on Capitol Hill. Sunland, finally there. What's in the final agreement? And we should note, I mean, for years, the Democrats and Republicans have been saying there is bipartisanship on infrastructure. It took them a long time to get here.
It certainly did, Christine, and it is noticeable that this is a massive, massive bill and certainly will represent a major victory for the White House after, as you note, months and months of painstaking negotiations up here on Capitol Hill. $550 billion in new federal spending over the next 5 years, money for roads, bridges, for rebuilding the electric grid, for expanding broadband, modernizing public transportation system, among many, many more items. And the Senate is expected to vote on this, a final vote in the Senate at 11 a.m. Eastern time today. They do have the votes to pass this through. That is when it heads over to the House, where it faces something of an uncertain fate. Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, she is not yet committed to taking up this bill until the Senate moves forward on that $3.5 billion budget resolution, a whole completely other thing. That is the Democratic-only package where it includes a wide array of Democratic priorities. Now, you heard Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer last night saying that the Senate will move to that budget resolution immediately after passing infrastructure today. That will likely set up what we call up here the so-called vote-a-rama, where senators will be working throughout the night, offering unlimited amendments, so a lot of work left to do before they get these items, Christine, over the finish line up here.
Monday, for the infrastructure bill, the uncertain future of the House is because Republicans or progressives?
Progressives certainly are
Sounds to me like they passed a small infrastructure bill, 1.5 trillion, and now they're trying to pass the bigger one, and the bigger one's probably only going to pass on party lines by the Democrats.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said she feared the mob rampaging through the Capitol on January 6th would not only...
That's messed up. Yeah, I watched that Being the AOC documentary today. I think it's on for a few days, and it's a few different hours. This might have been the first hour. Yesterday.
I didn't think that I was just going to be killed. I thought other things were going to happen as well. So what it sounds like what you're telling me right now is that you didn't only think that you were going to die, you thought you were going to be ready.
Yeah, she said that she was holed up in a bathroom, and she heard somebody say, "Is she in there?" And she didn't say if it was a man or a woman, but she said she thought it was the protesters, the rioters, whatever you call them, but it was a Capitol police officer. But she said for that moment she thought that she was toast, that she was gonna. She says she's the victim of sexual assault, so that makes. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Ah, Jesus. It's just beyond words. I don't know, man. We share this country with a lot of different kinds of people. If you can't stand people that much, then you should probably leave. If you want to kill liberals, want to kill somebody for whatever. I guess they wanted to. Who knows? I'm not going to get into the motivation of crazy people unless I have to. It took a long time. It was long time. I'm gonna go get some more tea. Don't go anywhere. Woohoo! Tea time again. This is hibiscus organic. Hibiscus. So good. I make it nice and thick. I have never ever tasted anything like teas, like rooibos tea and hibiscus tea. It's amazing. I remember the first time I had rooibos. I was at a Starbucks and I was just blown away at the feeling I got after drinking it. Just like a total. There's no caffeine in it, but it actually feels like almost feels like there's caffeine in it because it's so refreshing. I think it's the antioxidants. But it's weird. I just got some new rooibos tea, and I was reading on it. It was epic, and I was reading on it like the diatribe, and it was talking about like how because it was cut and made that it requires less than normal or something. I don't know, it was designed like a certain way with I think the ground powder and also some leaf. And so for whatever reason 2 bags of that is equal to like probably 6 bags of my other organic rooibos tea. Yeah. The hibiscus is tasty. It's nothing like that either. It's like a tart. It's almost not quite as sweet as, but probably just tart. Here we go. Yeah. Tart. It's fantastic. Iced or at any temperature.
Contracted the virus again last month and missed 10 days of training camp and practice while recovering. Well, now the former League MVP is healthy again and he's back with the team, but Jackson says still isn't sold on whether he should get vaccinated. We'll see. Talk to the doctors. We'll see. I think it's a personal decision.
I like NFL. I'm gonna check out MSNBC.
With all due haste.
That timeline comes after a meeting yesterday with the New York Assembly Judiciary Committee and investigators. The probe that began in March covered a range of events is being expedited in the wake of the state attorney general's report alleging the governor sexually harassed nearly a dozen women. Governor Cuomo disputes many of the allegations and has denied any wrongdoing. The state assembly will hold public and private hearings through the rest of the month as part of the investigation. But a new report says the governor is trying to avoid impeachment. According to the city, the governor has floated agreeing not to run for a
Innocent until proven guilty, I guess, right?
being removed from office. New York State Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie shut down the idea, saying he is not cutting a deal. Jeffrey Epstein accuser has
That's how it used to be, I think, in a way. Now sometimes being guilty in the court of public opinion is worse than anything.
Seeks damages for battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. According to NBC News reports, the suit claims that 20 years ago,
If you rely on both.
and his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, compelled Giuffre to engage in sexual encounters with Prince Andrew.
This is weird.
And that he knew she was a sex trafficking victim at the time.
This is real weird picture. Real creepy.
Child Victims Act, which gives people a 1-year window to sue.
On one hand, you got this lady, Ghislaine or something, who apparently found young women for Epstein and Epstein's buddies. And here's some prince from England who's got this arm around this real young girl. And she looks all totally uncomfortable. And you wonder like which kind of lies that Ghislaine fed to this young girl to get her even standing next to this guy. Or maybe they weren't lies, maybe it was just dollar signs.
So definitely a wild one there, guys. That game lasted nearly 5 hours. I'm sure Yankees fans are very happy to come out on the right side of that one. It was a long night.
5 hours of baseball. That's not a lot.
Padres won. I subscribed to MLB audio and listened to the Padres game a little bit tonight. That was awesome. When I tuned back in later after doing some stuff, it was the last inning, the ninth inning, and the guy struck out the side. That's pretty impressive. It wasn't a save though, I don't think, because they won by like a lot of runs. I think it was 8-2 or 8-4 over Arizona, and I think they swept them. I heard Tony Gwynn Jr.'s kid announcing a few innings in some of the after game. Or I don't know, whatever. I heard him a little bit. He's cool. He sounds like his dad. Yeah, his dad was my favorite baseball player. So, and he died of cancer in the mouth because of chewing tobacco. I think they tried to ban that stuff afterwards.
Over the weekend, the Oregonian reports
Portland records most homicides since 1994.
Said back in 1994, homicides in the Rose City are up 327% compared to last year, and shootings up 116%. A judge said
How does that number help anybody, and what does that inform us about? What's the whole point of that?
Replace the police. The proposal would remove the department from the city charter and create.
Doesn't tell us who did these shootings. For all we know, they're people that came in there from Fox News. They sent people over there with guns and shot the place up, and they made the statistics so they can.
Jillian Princeton University offering a course in critical race theory titled
You know, what are they acting like? Are they acting like these people? Here's what they're not acting like. These people grew up naturally and normally in Portland, and homegrown people that are good old Portland, Oregon people, and now all of a sudden they just decide to start shooting each other. I don't think they're exactly saying that.
White supremacy in the U.S. Dr. Swain, does this offering by your former employer shock you in any way?
Sometimes the gangs come into different areas and they move, and then there's the violence.
But what we do know is that it did not stay on the university campus.
Violence doesn't prove anything. I don't know why Fox News keeps thinking reporting on violence is a black eye on Democrats and a gold star for Republicans, because it's not. It's always bullshit, it's always skewed, it's always about one fucking city and not hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cities. It's always some goddamn statistic, some fucking song and dance. I'm sick of hearing it. So I care about violence, but that's a bullshit stat, and you just focus on one fucking city because you don't like the goddamn mayor or the people.
That concept for a moment. We've seen in recent weeks, recent months, a pushback on the obedience.
Why should anybody give a shit about Portland, Oregon either? You know, I want to know about my city and the violence in my city. I want to know my state. I want to know other statistics. I don't give a fuck. God damn.
That notion that, hey, I'm going to get a better worker coming from somewhere else where they've actually been taught skills and not this.
What a sad sack of shit.
Absolutely correct. And we need to stop selecting Supreme Court justices almost exclusively.
Stop listening to the Heritage Foundation.
Get vaccinated right away. I am proud that our military women and men will continue to help lead the charge in the fight against this pandemic, as they so often do, by setting the example of keeping their fellow Americans safe. The Pentagon says more than 1 million troops are fully vaccinated, and another 237,000 received one shot. Not everyone is on board with the military's vaccine mandate, though. Here's what Republicans
That could keep right-wingers and conspiracy theorists and those types out of the military. Questioners.
When did we decide as American citizens that we're going to give our government the ability to tell us that we have to wear a mask or have a shot? I get sick and tired of government thinking, some bureaucrat thinks that they're so smart.
If a Republican wins next time for the presidential election, maybe there's going to be a change in that policy with the Pentagon hiring. I could see them doing that. Because it doesn't seem like a Republican thing. I like the South Carolina governor. He made a lot of sense today. Yesterday.
Joining us now, NBC News correspondent, White House correspondent Monica Alba. Monica, always good to see you. Talk to me about what's behind the administration's decision to do this.
We know this has been in the works for a couple of weeks. This is something that the president had asked the Secretary of Defense
The military, who knows? Maybe they're concerned about people using it as a bioweapon on them, either in their civilian life or when they're abroad. So, it might not be a bad idea, but I think they could wait till it gets approved, though, by the FDA. I don't know if they need to do it right this very second. Oh, it's expected to go into effect by mid-September.
By mid-September. So we're talking 4 to 6 weeks from now, which gives them an opportunity to really go get those inoculations now and then have them be fully effective. But the interesting thing about the timeline, Alicia, is that if the FDA grants full approval before then, Secretary Austin said that he maybe will move up the date and say he wants everybody to be vaccinated.
Maybe they won't. Maybe you should prepare for them to say no and not approve it too. Imagine that. What are all you yokels gonna do when they say the shit you stuck in your body ain't approved? Nah, we don't approve. That'll be one fucking hilarious day. If that happens, I'm gonna launch a comedy program. If the FDA does not approve your vaccine, I'm gonna write a comedy and record comedy videos and go the comedy route. Stand up, whatever. Because that's gonna be comedy. And that's gonna be gold. Knowing them, they'll probably, if it's not approvable, they might try to save face and give it some kind of pseudo approval. Who knows? They could be being bought and sold right this very minute, by left wingers and right wingers alike. Hopefully they're not. Hopefully they're honestly getting to the bottom of it and figuring out whether it's good or bad and which ones are good and which ones are not. I don't think they're going to rule on effectiveness per se. I think they're more going to say whether it's safe or not. It's like government doesn't necessarily say how good a certain protein is, but it'll say whether they're allowed to sell it or not in the food. So I'm saying, I guess his approval is probably not endorsement. It's kind of the bare minimum, It's just to say it's suitable, it's acceptable, it's not going to kill you right away, which is really all they do. When I started eating nothing except organic food, I realized that their approval process for food was if it doesn't kill you right away, it's okay. If it causes degenerative diseases over many, many, many years, they don't care. By that time, you won't be able to finger them anyway.
NBC is Monica Alba, my friend. Good to see you this early in the morning. Still ahead, the totally different career opportunity with NASA, simulating life on Mars. Way too early is back in a moment.
Jesus. They just showed New York City in the street. Erica. Man, this lady looks so much like these other two ladies.
And the governor should be allowed the opportunity to see that evidence and do a fulsome submission, which we're not being allowed to do. The question now is time running out for Governor Cuomo.
That should have been teeth. That should have been a dentist. It's funny, lately I've been seeing some old people with really good looking teeth, and I'm like, I bet his dad was a dentist.
Who still works in the administration, says the governor broke her on 2 separate occasions. That's when he put his hand up my blouse and cupped my breast over my brow. I exactly remember looking down, seeing his hand, which is a large hand, thinking to myself,
I don't know why she's telling these
oh
people
my
these
God,
things.
this is happening. Carissa has filed a criminal complaint with the Albany County Sheriff's Department and says she wants to see the governor step down. Sources telling
I was
CNN
sexually abused,
closest allies
and
don't
I
see
don't have
what
videotape
survivors actually spent last weekend trying to
of
convince
me
him to
talking about
resign.
it, and I didn't get paid to tell somebody
Has
about
no
it.
plans to step down. The
But I
governor
could
has
see how
denied
they want to
Carissa's
know,
allegations and has taken issue with
since he
some
is
of
an
the
elected
claims
official.
made in the AG's report. As far as the next date in this timeline, Cuomo's attorneys will submit any evidence they'd like considered as part of this impeachment investigation by Friday. Christina Whitney. An alleged victim of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein filed a lawsuit against Britain's Prince Andrew on Monday. Virginia Roberts Dufresne accuses the 61-year-old royal of sexually abusing her at Epstein's Manhattan mansion and elsewhere when she was under the age of 18. Her federal lawsuit filed in New York accuses Andrew of sexual assault and intentional infliction of emotional distress and seeks unspecified damages. California Governor Gavin Newsom faces a recall election in just over a month, and the governor's forces are sounding the alarm about what may be the biggest threat to his continued tenure. It's not the wildfires or drought or even the new pandemic health orders, but complacency among Democratic voters. We get more this morning from CNN's Ken Rock in Los Angeles.
Christine and Whitney, California's mail-in ballots are going out in just days. We're talking about the recall of California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom. What we're starting to see in neighborhoods across the state are canvassers walking through Democratic neighborhoods. Now, the reason for that is that Democrats outnumber Republicans when it comes to voter registration by 2 to 1. But take a listen. When we ask Democrats if they even know about the upcoming election.
Ridiculous. I think it's a record.
Yeah, he says that people are paying attention or talking about it at all.
Not as much. No. No. Not even.
The governor?
They should explain what's going on with the recall.
Democrats could lose the governor's mansion if they do not vote no on the recall, essentially saying that they want Gavin Newsom to continue his job. Then, in the second part of the ballot, the Republican challenger could replace him. The election is September 14th. Christine, Whitney.
Well, thank you. In just a matter of days, the Taliban has seized 6 provincial capitals, leading to mass civilian casualties. Nick Payton Walsh joining us now. Nick, as the U.S. prepares to finish its military withdrawal, it seems like the future of Afghanistan is really at stake here and in a precarious position.
Yeah, but make no mistake, we are seeing the worst periods, the worst weeks certainly in Afghanistan's history, and it's meant to be a war for Afghan security forces and government. The news just continues to get worse all the time. Confirmation to CNN that the 6th provincial capital has fallen yesterday. Iraq in Samangan.
I decided to start rooting for the Taliban. It seemed like the winners. The victors go to the spoils.
As well, and it is a constant series of changing fires for Afghan security forces, limited in their scope, frankly, and a sophisticated commando level to have to tackle. Now, we've heard today from President Ashraf Ghani in Kabul
Yeah, my vote.
Declaration that they want to bring
Might is
under
right.
the umbrella of Afghan security forces all the different pro-government militia that are out there in Afghanistan. Afghanistan has an uncomfortable history with warlords, frankly, dating back to the 90s and before, but it appears that this
It's just a matter of time. Whoever's backing the Taliban has the ability
forces loyal
to wait
warlords,
and to
local
be
leaders,
opportunistic
to assist in pushing
and win.
back the Taliban. This could be effective.
So it's
certainly.
over.
It could lead to fracturing in the country and a loosening of the government's grip, but it's
Just-
certainly
I wouldn't be too surprised if we see some terrible atrocities and then go back in there.
At the same time, US diplomacy is making
You know, that's essentially what happened with ISIS. They showed people being beheaded on TV, and then it made people upset, and then they sent troops over there. And Syria didn't want the US there.
US diplomats for years.
Syria invited Russia there.
See the need to be internationally recognized, to get its leaders on the hands of governments and seek some kind of political settlement.
Now this is
All we're seeing
Afghanistan.
on the ground here is the opposite.
China's one of its
The
neighbors.
momentum continuing, and Afghan security forces now replacing leaders at times too. Not in disarray, that's not fair, but certainly I think struggling to work out quite when they get a grip on this insurgency progress.
Nick Waltz live in London. Thank you. All right, to the American job market now. The help-wanted signs across America. New data shows there were 10.1 million job openings in June. That is a remarkable number, a record high, as businesses struggle to hire enough workers to meet the demand of a booming reopening economy. Despite high demand, not everyone's ready to go back to
between
work.
May
Childcare
and
still counts for
August,
millions of parents.
there's
Frontline
been
low-wage workers aren't
1 million
rushing back
jobs added to the
the
job
new
market, she
normal.
said.
In fact, many are still concerned about contracting the virus and about work conditions. Executive Vice President of the
Doing
U.S. Chamber
very
of
good
Commerce,
jobs.
Neil
Don't know where
Bradley,
they are.
says if we want to sustain our economic recovery, we have to get serious about removing barriers to filling these open jobs. Economists hope issues with child care will be addressed when kids get back to school, but the Delta variant is causing now growing health and safety risks, which may keep people at home. It is a complicated story here. The Fed chief recently said we've got all these job openings, but the people who are out of work are not plugging directly into those. In many cases, the people who are out of work are retraining for new, better jobs at higher pay. That's not a new match that happens overnight. Right there, back.
Way to get you in shape.
Go and get you.
I'm gonna make some tea. Alright. I got Rooibos in the cup and peppermint brewing.
These guys you participate in. Things that are outside are great space. As in part, the Kentucky senator is throwing a tantrum as the state is being swallowed whole by this virus again. People are getting sick and dying. 98 counties in Kentucky have had high incidence rates.
People should care more about their own district and their own state than criticizing other ones when they're elected.
Not wearing a mask inside at the wedding.
Their own district. Just don't say it.
Everyone, I think, would like to be able to.
I agree.
Okay, so what's new in the Cuomo investigation? There's an element to this.
Okay, this is pretty unbelievable. So the Time's Up organization was created in the wake of the Me Too movement to fight back against sexual harassment and assault. But the co-founder of that organization just stepped down after the investigation into Governor Cuomo found that she was involved in discrediting one of Cuomo's accusers. So the organization released a statement about Roberta Kaplan stepping down, saying, "We and she agree that is the right and appropriate thing to do. The events of the last week have made it clear that our process should be evaluated, and we intend to do just that." So the Attorney General's report found that Kaplan had reviewed a draft of a disparaging
People don't take a breath, do they?
that was aimed at
They
attacking
just
the
talk.
character of Lindsey Woolen. She released a statement criticizing Governor Cuomo. She said, "Unfortunately, recent events have made it clear that even our apparent allies in the fight to advance women can turn out to be abusers." So it sounds like she's saying she thought she was doing the right thing. She didn't know Governor Cuomo was a bad guy, but my goodness, she's co-founder of Time's Up.
The B-roll, they keep showing the same pictures over and over.
I think you're both nice.
Thanks.
This is a new one. So you're going to have to think twice before you call people nice. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says that she thinks the term can be sexist. Check this out from Vogue's Instagram account. It says, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki is good at mending fences. Just don't call her nice.
Yeah, I don't
It's
know.
like nails on a
For some reason, I've been liking her less and less.
Of a better description, the word is sexist and a little diminishing, but she says it's also this desire to put people in a box.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
Seems
you
like
know,
she
I
stretches
was
the
thinking
truth
that-
and-
So some people say that it's sexist to call
That's
women
pretty nice.
mean too. You know, like female CEOs, if you call them mean, they say, "Oh, you wouldn't call a man mean if he did just that." So you can't call women
It's a hard job.
mean or
Still.
nice.
I'm seeing this one out.
They call her.
See you guys.
Time for the
Jeez.
First, a 9-year-old Las Vegas boy getting a very special.
Man, these people are so deluded because they make so much money. And then they use it to make themselves look nicer.
Why are you wearing a tie?
Man at the house now.
And then they make a bunch more money.
That's sweet.
Officers from the Las Vegas Metro Police Department escorting Noah Swanger after his father, Officer Jason Swanger, died in June from COVID. Noah wants to be a sheriff when he grows up.
Wow.
All right, next to that, O.J. Simpson tells The Athletic he avoids Los Angeles because he doesn't want to accidentally run into his ex-wife's real killer. O.J. saying in part, quote, "People may think this is self-serving, but I might be sitting next to whoever did it. I really don't know who did this." He was notoriously accused and acquitted of killing Nicole Brown Simpson and another man in 1995.
I think people are thinking something different, not that it's self-serving. And finally, the ugly squad member Corey Bush and CNN coming under fire for highlighting a story that ended up being fake. The network airing a segment with a Las Vegas woman who claimed that she and her children would be out on the streets if the eviction moratorium ended. She raised over to get this $230,000
Wow.
through a GoFundMe.
I heard that when I was 87.
CNN even had her back on air with it. So the congresswoman praising her efforts. Just one problem, Julie and Neely. The children's real mom came forward revealing that woman was simply the babysitter. Yep, CNN issuing a correction. Bush has not commented.
What a trip.
50 minutes after the hour, a group of Chicago police officers turning their backs on Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
I should do some kind of young, I guess, have to be young
And mourn
kids.
the death of Officer Ella French.
Tommy Lahren says Democrats have blood on their hands. She's live next.
It's pretty wild.
If you're 55,
Under heavy scrutiny, including one in Pecos, Texas, which in court declarations
Migrants
last night
describe
revealed
raw
poor
food like
conditions
these
for
days at
children.
food
Children
facilities.
reported, as you mentioned, undercooked food, long wait times for medical services, and prolonged stays overall. In fact, one 17-year-old from Aurora said that their
It's
sibling,
2-1 in
"My
Mexico.
brother has gotten
Bunch of
into
tents
rest here." Now,
on the
HHS
border.
says that there are improving conditions as these facilities have gone up and running, but attorneys say that these children need to be moved to shelters that are better equipped to
Priscilla
care for them.
Alvarez.
Just real trouble. All right, thank you so much for that, Priscilla Whitney. The
Yeah, you need a lot of stuff when you're
Navy
living that kind of lifestyle, and you create a waste. It all has to be dealt with. So there isn't housing right there on the border. There's, I don't know where. I think there used to be vendors there, or just walkways.
Well, that looks like a shock. A Los Angeles judge denied Britney Spears' request to expedite her next hearing as she seeks to have her dad removed as conservator of her estate. The singer's new attorney had petitioned to the court to move up the hearing by a month, arguing that everything matters in an effort to remove James Spears from the conservatorship. The attorney argued that removing him, or at least suspending him from controlling her estate, was critical. The judge did not explain why she denied the request to move up the hearing. We're watching all the developments on that story. Meantime, let's get a check on CNN. This morning. Look at markets around the world. Asian shares closed higher. It's narrowly mixed on the open for European.
Shanghai and Hong Kong are up. Frankfurt, Paris.
Also barely budging here. It was
Other two kind of stagnant.
to start the week. The fears over the surging cases of the Delta variant were a big factor here. The Dow closed 106 points lower. The S&P 500 fell slightly.
Minus
The Nasdaq
106.66.
managed a small gain, but where you really saw the Delta factor at play was the oil prices.
Was the
which
Dow
declined
yesterday.
on Monday. Prices the lowest level since May over concerns that the rising number of COVID cases will lead to a decrease in demand for oil. U.S. crude ended the day at $66.48 a barrel. Looking at oil prices right now, you can see them there. Investors are worried that the surge in cases could lead to travel restrictions, which would affect demand. Companies are pushing back their return to office plans, which could also lead to a slowdown in travel, of course, and conferences and demand for oil. All right, DraftKings is making an even bigger bet on online gamblers. The company announced it bought Golden Nugget Online Gaming for nearly $1.6 billion. As more states legalize sports betting and online casino games such as poker and blackjack, companies like DraftKings are trying to attract gamblers. DraftKings CEO said the deal fills a loophole for the company. The Golden Nugget brand attracts older
People
customers
have some
who visit
issues.
casinos. It's also more popular with bowling, believe it or not. All right, last week United
That's a lot of money.
Airlines, the first major U.S. carrier to require its employees be vaccinated. Here's what United CEO Scott Kirby said Monday about that decision.
The tipping point for me was seeing the statistics that 97% of the people in the hospital.
See, the real weird thing that I just started realizing might happen is if enough people get vaccinated, then businesses might not see it as a big loss to their business if they require vaccinated people.
There simply was no choice but to do the right thing.
And proof of vaccination.
More likely to die. That's what they put in a note also to all of their frequent flyers overnight. The United executives told us that any employee who refused to show proof of
And if that's the case, then some people are going to be assed out, so to speak.
Makes flying safer. Of course, we're hoping to make this
And they
all
won't be able to get
so
certain
we can get back to normal, get on planes.
luxuries or services or something.
Finally, zero gravity gymnastics. Watch as
That'd be pretty wild if it comes to that. Where they're literally like locked out of society because they can't prove that they have been vaccinated for a virus. The only way that that could happen and continually happen is if enough people do it, and if these viruses just keep coming and coming and coming and coming, which they might. And then they'll just keep vaccinating them and vaccinating them and vaccinating them. People are used to getting flu shots every year, and a lot of people are. Or people are at least used to tolerating. Most people tolerate them and don't you don't see people picketing out in front of CVS or whatever saying, no flu shots. I cringe at them, and I don't get them. And I have thought, and I might have kicked down a sign. I have a phobia of needles too. Yeah, I seem to remember maybe doing that. Because I think it's a real bad idea. Unless you're in a high risk group and you've got some serious illnesses. And then still you're risking your health with any shot because you don't know what's in there. And the people that approve it aren't looking to keep you alive for 1,000 years. They're looking to keep you alive for the average lifespan, which means they're looking to get away with slowly killing you. Quickly killing you, that's forbidden. Slowly killing you, that's allowed. Maybe just because they're religious. But that's what I got to start saying when I was houseless, and there's these damn vehicles, these dumb, goddamn, out-of-touch people rolling up to a stop, looking at me like, yeah, let me go, I'm gonna go, I'll just go real fast, and me looking at them like, are you fucking nuts? Fuck you. I'll pull you out of there and beat you, which I never did. And then they would get the point that I'm not stopping, and that I am walking in front of their stinking vehicle because the pollution comes out the back end. And I started saying to them, are you going to kill me fast or kill me slow? Slowly. Because they're going to kill me fast because they're going to run me over, or they're going to kill me slow because they're going to pollute on me. And they'll pollute the most on me if they zip in front of me. And a lot of people do. A lot of people do, and they want to. They feel entitled to pollute on you and me. I feel like because they're an American and they bought this goddamn stinkmobile, that it's their right to stink on you instead of wait 5 seconds and obey the law, typically. So yeah, and they act like that's a gigantic ask, and look at me expectantly, like I've got some kind of social agreement to look the other way while he breaks the law and harms my health, and we don't. We don't at all. So I started telling them, you know, the shit smell comes out the back like your ass. You know, and I think a lot of them got it. And I started saying I prefer shit smell, actually. I haven't driven a gas-burning vehicle in many, many years. I used to use these electric cars in San Diego, and they were cool. It was called Car2Go, the number 2. And you swiped a card, or you reserved it with your app, and then you walked over there, and you swiped it, and you drove it wherever you wanted to. And then you could let it go, or you could hold it, or reserve it again, and go back to where you came from, or wherever you want to leave it, and you leave it there. And you just pay by the mile. It was real simple and cool. Somehow they were run out of San Diego, and they don't exist there anymore. But it should have been something that the governor and the mayor, you know, championed, because it was really convenient, and it took the stench off of the road. Mercedes made the vehicles. Alright, it's 6 a.m. I'm going to shut this off and start it up again. Adios.